All right, check, check, check. Hello, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Another Monday, mostly in the books. Man, this feels weird. I miss college basketball. The weekdays were so much easier to get through when college basketball was doing what it was doing. Big 12 basketball really saved my Mondays. So this Monday, just a little bit longer than most. Today, going to be reviewing Thunder Force, the new Melissa McCarthy, Octavia Spencer comedy, and also going to be breaking down the 2021 NFL receiver draft class. A lot of interesting prospects, and we all know the ones at the top, but I'll tell you kind of the different things that they offer and ultimately where I think they will end up and where I would like them to go. Those two are not going to be the same thing, though. I mean, Cincinnati, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow in the pros sounds great, but they need to keep Joe Burrow upright. We saw the offensive line. I'll save some of it for the actual segment. But we're going to start this thing off really quickly before... I mean, I didn't plan on talking about this at all because I just didn't. I didn't think this would come out today. But new number one on the Hot 100. And there have been a lot of new number ones lately. It's ever since Driver's License let go of its iron grip at the top. We had Drake come on with his, let's just call it what it is, another half-assed song by Drake. He put out like 3 songs, and none of them were memorable in any way, shape, or form, but he's Drake, so we got it to number one for 1 week. Then Cardi B with Up, which is another one that it's okay, it's fine. It's not Cardi's best by any means. And then Peaches by Justin Bieber, which I just don't understand why people love that song so much. Then Montero by Lil Nas X, which might be the song of the summer to me. And then this one, Leave the Door Open by Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak is your new number one song. This thing had been around number 2 or number 3 for about the last month, and finally, it's number 1. They're calling themselves Silk Sonic, and I'm really excited to see what their whole album looks like, because I do like this song. This is Anderson .Paak's first number 1 song and Bruno Mars's 8th number 1 hit. He had Nothing on You, Just the Way You Are, Grenade, Locked Out of Heaven, When I Was Your Man, Uptown Funk, That's What I Like, and Leave the Door Open. I'm a bit surprised that 24 Karat Magic didn't get there. That's a song that definitely grew on me over time, but I felt like I was hearing it everywhere. How did that not get to number 1? I really hope it wasn't that Juju on That Beat song that kept it out, because that's just, I know why it stayed out, because Closer by the Chainsmokers and Halsey was just an unstoppable beast. I do think 24 Karat Magic was a better song, though. But yeah, Leave the Door Open. Bruno Mars, Anderson .Paak, Silk Sonic, whatever you want to call it. Number 1 song in the country. I'm glad for them, and I hope that their Silk Sonic project turns out to be as good as I hope that it will be. All right. We have a monster to stop here. We have to stop somebody. We're talking about Thunder Force, the new Netflix movie that debuted on Friday. It's a superhero movie starring Melissa McCarthy, Octavia Spencer, Jason Bateman, Bobby Cannavale, Melissa Leo, Palm Clementoff. I'm sure there's other people in it too. This movie sucks to high heaven. I'm not going to string you along. I'm not going to talk about, I thought it was going to be bad. I tweeted when this trailer came out about a month and a half ago. I said, I'm going to give this a 50% chance that this makes my bottom 10 worst movies of 2021. And I'm really excited to actually get that list on camera. You know, it's going to be a nice, polished, edited video that I get out at the end of the year. Probably January, not late December. Got to see everything. 50% was a really, really generous measure. This is 100%. I think the only thing it's 50% is the chance that it's actually number 1. because this thing is atrocious. And it all comes back to this man right here. Ben Falcone has to be stopped at all costs. We can't let this man continue to make movies. And by the way, his wife is Melissa McCarthy, which explains maybe why he's allowed to make movies, because somebody with some say in the industry is married to him. But I think the person that we need to keep in mind most when we say let's not let him make movies is Melissa McCarthy, because he makes her look like a bumbling doofus in everything that she's in. Think of all the movies where Melissa McCarthy is just falling down on shit or just being an idiot. They're made by this guy. The only one that I can think of that she's not like that is Identity Thief, but that's one. If you're telling me, Mitchell, stop with the venom, stop with the anger, it's not needed. What has this guy even done to hurt you so bad? Why are you so mad at him? Well, he gave us this piece of trash. And for those of you who don't know, you've lived a better life than me. I didn't even want to see this movie. This is back when I didn't have money to see movies as consistently as I do now. There was no A-list. Netflix didn't have everything. This is Tammy. My best friend dragged me to see this movie with his family. The only good thing is I think they paid for the ticket. I don't remember. But I paid with my soul because this movie sucked to high heaven just like Thunder Force did. Yeah, you see the picture of Melissa McCarthy. That's the summary of the movie right there. They shouldn't even have a synopsis on IMDb. It should be that picture that tells you everything you need to know. Melissa McCarthy being loud and stupid and obnoxious. What else has he directed her in? The Boss, which I will say was bad, but it wasn't like rip my skin off terrible. And the reason why is because Melissa McCarthy is a good comedic actress, and I guess the ad-lib stuff that she was doing that week, that month, whenever they were filming, was hitting pretty well. There were some scenes where Melissa McCarthy did have me laughing. It was anything this hack did to make me laugh, because Life of the Party was the next movie, and Melissa McCarthy looking like a bumbling doofus in a terrible movie with no plot, no script, no comedy. Every joke is 5 minutes too long. I didn't see Superintelligence, which was his most recent movie, came out in HBO Max in October. If you're saying, what the hell is that? I didn't see that anywhere. You're right. HBO Max buried it. They don't want you to see it. It's awful. Didn't check it out. But this was like a number one, please watch this movie on Netflix. So Netflix, I oblige. Do you want me to talk about this movie? Let's play ball. This is Ben Falcone's worst movie. Ben Falcone's worst movie. That's like saying the time I vomited, the fourth time was by far the worst. That's what we're at right now. And Melissa McCarthy is capable of not just being good, not just being funny, but being amazing and excellent. If you've seen the movie Can You Ever Forgive Me, which is something Ben Falcone should be saying to each and every one of us, she is amazing in this movie. Oscar nominated, her second Oscar nomination after Bridesmaids. I wasn't crazy about Bridesmaids, but it has its moments for sure. And she is great in it. This woman, if I had a vote for the Academy Awards, I would have given her the Oscar. I think she turned in the best lead performance of 2018 with this movie. Her and Richard E. Grant had fantastic chemistry. It was a great movie. It was investing, and it was one. I'm going to make a mention of this because I think it's important to talk about when I'm reviewing a movie what my thoughts were going into it, what my expectations were, what was my mindset, because I think that's important. None of us are unbiased. It is pretty tough to enter a situation unbiased, and with someone like me who watches a lot of movies, I'm going to go into a movie like Thunder Force way differently than I go into something like, I don't know, Interstellar, where I have just these sky-high expectations of something that's going to wow me and take me to another planet. My expectations were really bad with this. I did not expect this to be Schindler's List. Or hell, I didn't even expect this to be Game Night or Tag, 2 comedies from a few years ago that did really make me laugh. My expectations were low, but when I sit down in that theater or on my couch or my bed, whatever I'm watching, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give it a chance. And this movie started blowing chances time after time, minutes, if not seconds in. Every joke goes on for at least 3 or 4 minutes too long. There is a joke about not knowing who Urkel is that goes on so long, I wanted to jump off my balcony. It's terrible. And I don't know how nobody knew that, hey, we've said this joke 7 times too many. We should have yelled cut, or there's this really cool thing that you can do, and you've been able to do it for a while, but maybe some people don't know, is even if you don't yell cut, you can edit out different parts of a movie, and you can not have her saying the same joke 7 different times. You don't have to do that. There's technology. We can avoid that. You're Netflix. This is not a cheap movie. This is a superhero movie. It might look cheap, but you can use technology to make your movie not complete dog ass. Because this movie is. This movie makes me really appreciate Vine and TikTok, especially Vine, because Vine had a 7-second limit. If you weren't funny on Vine, people would let you know, but you had 7 seconds. You have to make it work in that 7-second limit. You don't get to overuse a joke. It's very quick, and it gets in, gets out, nobody gets hurt. I mean, unless you were doing a bunch of those stupid, like, let me eat Tide Pod pizza challenges. You didn't get to overstay your welcome. I never thought I would miss the days of watch me whipping nay-nay dances on Vine, but this movie really makes me appreciate that stuff because it didn't overstay its welcome at all. And this movie just, 2 minutes in to, not even taking the shoes off their feet. If this movie came into my house, it would said, get the hell out. Leave, you are no longer welcome. You have disturbed me. Please leave. I guess I might as well get into the plot of this damn thing. So, as you see here, Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer are superheroes. Octavia Spencer is she's a scientist of some sort who works at this company, and Melissa McCarthy is her friend from like 30 years ago from in school. And she was a loser who had, like, no respect for Octavia Spencer's dreams then and is the exact same now and accidentally, like, takes this dose of something because she's stupid and can't follow directions. And Octavia Spencer repeats about 40 times in the movie that she's doing this for her family. Yeah, thanks. We got it the first time. I can't even blame her because she's great. And she's just doing this for the money. It's clear as day. They give her nothing to do. If you want any doubts, they turn her invisible. She has nothing to do in this movie. Oh, and one of the more disturbing things in this movie, by the way, if there are any small children nearby, you can tell them to turn away. It's cool. But it's coming. In 3, 2, yeah, that's Jason Bateman with claws for hand, like lobster claws. As soon as I saw that Jason Bateman was in this movie, I just went, oh no, not Jason Bateman. He's talented. He's too good to be in this. But I think he's friends with Melissa McCarthy or something. But like, you can be friends with somebody and not do the same dumb things that they do. And you're Jason Bateman. You can make money other ways. You could be in another film that doesn't ask you to do stupid things all the time. There's a part where they just start dancing and it makes no sense. It has no relevance to the movie. There's a part, like half of the movie with him in it is just making lobster jokes. How many lobster jokes can we make with Jason Bateman sitting right there? Can we put butter on his claws? How many lobster jokes can we make with Jason Bateman? How many Red Lobster jokes can we make? How many 80s songs can we play in this movie? to try to get people to go, man, this movie sucks. Oh, they're playing a song I like. I just forgot everything, and I still like this movie. Sorry, but I'm not a complete idiot, just half of one. You have to do better than that. You have to try. Speaking of wasting people that can be good in other things, here's Bobby Cannavale not trying at all. I've seen this guy in good things. I've also seen him in a lot of crap. So I hope that he can end up, being in something worth a damn, because I really like him. I think he has a lot of charisma. He can do a lot of different types of comedy, but pure villainy between Jumanji and this, stop casting this guy as a villain. He can't do it. Or at least give him something to do as a villain. You know what his nickname is as a villain? He's a guy that's running for a mayoral position in the city of Chicago, he calls himself the King. Way to be creative, Ben Falcone, you total hack. Yeah, this movie is an hour and 40 minutes. I had to watch it in 2 sittings. I could not do it all at once. Watching this movie all at once is basically a prison sentence. A short one, but you feel it. God, this movie is like the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And that you only have to do it once, but you feel the effects of it a little bit longer than the other one. Oh my God. Yeah, if this is not my worst movie of the year, then 2021 is going to give me something terrible. Oh my God. This was work. This was work. I never like talking about movies like that. And unlike Voyagers, I will say there are people that should watch this. Do I have much respect for you? Absolutely not. But if you liked Tammy or Life of the Party, especially if you liked both of them, then have your little stupid fest and watch this movie, have a great time. Don't let me talk to you ever again, or at least don't let me know that you like this. Please. I have friends that like a lot of dumb Adam Sandler stuff, and it's like, I understand the appeal. I hate it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. The stuff from the 90s wasn't so bad, but the further you go along, Uncut Gems is classic, but not like, if you like Jack and Jill or Grown Ups or Grown Ups 2, just don't tell me. Just never let me know about it, and we'll be cool. Just like this. This movie gets an F for just complete failure, waste of my time. I know it doesn't begin with F, but you know what? I'm going to put as much effort into things that start with F as Ben Falcone did making this movie. We have to stop this man. He's going to ruin his wife's career. She doesn't even have to do Oscar award-winning things like Can You Ever Forgive Me? I'm just asking that she doesn't do complete and total garbage. That is what I'm asking. She can make comedies that are good. It's possible. It's very possible. She's done it before. Spy was really funny. She works well with other comedians when she doesn't just have to ad-lib the script because her husband's directing the movie and her husband has no talent. There are a lot of people trying to make it in Hollywood who have ideas. And comedy is a genre that is being pushed all the way to the back burner. It's being shoved off to Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and made to look cheap. You don't see a lot of comedies in theaters anymore. You just don't. Where are your event comedies? They're not a thing. These studios think that we can put our comedic material in other like franchises or other genres, and that's it. We don't have to dabble with comedy. We're not going to make a lot of money off of it. So the people who do get to make comedies with stars that people are actually going to watch is a very low number. It's just the way it is right now. And unfortunately, the industry has allowed this man to be one of the guys that does it. Hey, Hollywood, try harder. Hey, Ben Falcone, just stop. All right. I like to think that I've gotten my anger out of the way. We're going to get into the 2021 NFL draft class. The receivers. We've talked about the quarterbacks. We've talked about the running backs. We're going to talk about the receivers today. We'll be back in just 1 second. Let me put up the picture of the guy that I think is wide receiver number 1. I don't think there should be much of a question about this either. So this is wide receiver number 1. Be back in a quick second. All right, that is Ja'Marr Chase. He is my wide receiver number 1, and he should be the first wide receiver off the board in the 2021 NFL Draft out of LSU. He did not play this season. He opted out, but he showed everything that he needed to in 2019 with Joe Burrow. Chase is an incredible athlete, incredibly fast. He ran a much quicker 40 time than many expected him to run, but he plays at an extremely fast level. He tracks passes very nicely. He's able to get balls all over. He can catch them all over his frame. He uses that frame incredibly well to get open and put him in positions to catch deep passes, short passes. Joe Burrow liked to throw to this guy all over the field. He has incredible body control. He had 2,093 yards, 23 touchdowns in college. 20 touchdowns in the 2019 season with Joe Burrow, in which they won the national championship game. A lot of good receivers on that team, but Ja'Marr Chase was wide receiver 1, and lest we forget, that was a team that had Justin Jefferson on the team. And Justin Jefferson might be a top 10 NFL receiver right now. And Chase was definitely the one that everybody was game planning for. This is somebody who I see very little weaknesses in his game. As far as where Ja'Marr Chase might end up, I think it's going to come down to either Cincinnati or Miami. I think that the Bengals, Joe Burrow's pushing them to get that Burrow-Chase reunion because it worked legendarily well in Baton Rouge. Yes, that's where LSU. Yeah, Baton Rouge, where they won the national championship. Burrow won the Heisman, was the number 1 pick last year. But as far as the Bengals go, and I will get to this either at the end of this week or next week, Bengals, Joe Burrow doesn't work if he's dead. We saw what happened last year. Joe Burrow needs to stay upright, and that offensive line is awful. Penei Sewell will be on the board at pick 5. You pick Penei Sewell, and you don't look back. I understand you don't have the most depth at receiver right now. You have T. Higgins, you have Tyler Boyd. You don't have a lot in the tight end department either, so you might want to take Kyle Pitts. You got to keep Burrow upright. If Burrow isn't upright, none of this matters. You can get receivers in round 2. It's not as deep of a class as last year. I mean, you guys benefited off of that with T. Higgins. Take Penei Sewell. I think Ja'Marr Chase ultimately will end up in Cincinnati. I think they're going to not take my advice, and they're going to take him anyway. If they don't, I think Miami's going to take Chase if he's there, and if not, they'll take Pitts. They definitely want to surround Tua with some more talent, so I think ultimately Chase doesn't fall out of the top 6. All right, wide receiver number 2 is this man right here. That's Devonta Smith, the Heisman winner. We don't really see receivers win Heismans. I think the last one was Desmond Howard. And then, I mean, you have to have some sort of a punt return element to your game if you want to win the Heisman in college football, because touchdowns, you got to have the stat line to do it. But this kid was dominant in 2020. He had 24 touchdowns in a shortened season. He's incredibly productive and can do anything you need a receiver to do. He can go deep. He can run intermediate stuff. He can win in the short routes. He is a bit small, and that's something that people have some concerns about. He's 170 pounds. However, he's an excellent route runner. He's incredible after the catch, and I think he can be used an awful lot like Antonio Brown. Get a little bit of, I don't want to say bulk on the frame because, he's 170 pounds. I don't know how big you're going to get him, but just put a little bit of more muscle on that, and he can really be used all over the place. Put him in motion. This guy's going to be incredibly dangerous at the next level. He had nearly 4,000 yards and 47 touchdowns in 4 seasons, and like I mentioned, he had 24 touchdowns last year. This guy is not a lock to be the second receiver off the board. He could be third. He's going to be in competition with this man, Jalen Waddle. God, that Alabama receiver room last year and 2 years ago, so much talent there. He is incredibly explosive, very dangerous with the ball. He suffered an ankle injury last season and missed, I want to say, half of the season. Could be wrong there. He's 5'9", 180, but he wins right off the line of scrimmage and is very, very tough to press in that regard because he'll just blow right by you. He had 2,000 yards, 17 touchdowns in 2.5 seasons. Like I mentioned, there's no definitive answer as to which one will be better or which one will get picked first because I hate to fall back on the old cliche, but where do they end up? If you have to ask me, I think Waddle goes before Devonta Smith because I think the size issue does drop Smith. Not for me personally. I think Smith could be Antonio Brown to Jalen Waddle's Tyreek Hill. I'm very high on both of these receivers. I like this top 3 of this class more than the top 3 of last year's class with CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and Henry Ruggs. Everybody had Jefferson at number 4, minus Howie Roseman, and we're seeing how that worked out for him. I think that Waddle goes to the Lions at 7, and Devonta Smith, I don't think the Giants are going to go receiver. I think they're going to try to get better in the trenches, whether that means they go somebody like Elijah Vera Tucker, the guard out of USC, or they go with Jalen Phillips out of Miami. I don't know, maybe Micah Parsons out of Penn State. I don't think they'll go receiver after giving Galladay as much money as they did, but it is certainly an option and cannot be ruled out. However, I think that Smith ends up a member of the Philadelphia Eagles, who finally get it right at the receiver prediction after whiffing on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, not picking DK Metcalf. And I don't want to say they whiffed with Jalen Reagor. Reagor still definitely has a lot of upside. He needs to stay healthy. That was a problem in college. When he was on the field, he developed a bit of a rapport with Jalen Hurts, so we'll see how that goes in 2021. But when you look at what was there and they didn't have, everybody was clamoring for Jefferson. Jefferson and Reagor will be compared for the rest of their careers, unfortunately, and that's a comparison that Jefferson is going to win every time. My wide receiver 4 is this man, Rashod Bateman out of Minnesota. He is my number 4. However, I don't think he'll be the 4th receiver taken, and I don't think he goes round 1 if you were to ask me. But let's talk about Bateman's traits first. This guy has an ideal size for a wide receiver, and he uses that size incredibly well. He's 6'2", 210 pounds, and can catch in a crowd over the middle of the field. He can make any catch you need him to. He does not take plays off, but he didn't have the best season in 2020. He had 2,300 yards and 19 touchdowns in what was essentially 2.5 seasons. He played a few games last year before Minnesota really tailed off, and Bateman said, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put my name back in the draft, and peace out, guys. I'm going to be, at the very least, a second-round pick, so I'm out. I want Bateman to be a first-round pick. I want to make it clear, anybody in Nashville, Tennessee that might see this, if the Titans don't pick Rashod Bateman and he's on the board, someone needs to go. Rashod Bateman should go to the Tennessee Titans. You've got an A.J. Brown, Rashod Bateman pairing for the next 5 years minimum, just sitting there, and it would be fantastic. It would give defenses nightmares. You should pick this man. However, I don't think he's going to go round 1. I think that Kadarius Toney and Terrace Marshall Jr. will get picked ahead of Rashod Bateman, maybe just due to the fact that Bateman didn't really have the production in the 2020 season. That whole Minnesota offense really fell off last year, so I'm not going to put the whole blame on Bateman, but I think he's really going to work on the next level. I expect him to be an early to mid-second round pick. Maybe the Jets in pick 34. That could definitely be a thing that happens for the Minnesota wide receiver. The Eagles in the second round, maybe if they don't get their guy. The Bears could move up to get him in the second round. He could also be a candidate for the Bears in the first round. Maybe the Saints at the end of the first round. Or in the second. Maybe the Ravens can get him. Maybe the Raiders. There's a lot of different options. Now that we're getting out of the top guys, options are limitless. There are so many teams looking for receivers. Even teams that you might think have a full receiver room, always looking to add depth. And if there's a guy on the board that they really like, they will take him with no second thoughts. My wide receiver 5 is the guy I think is going to go 4th in the receiver draft class, and that is Kadarius Toney, looking just like Tyreek Hill right there with the peace sign. And this guy, incredibly fast. Lots of Percy Harvin comparisons as far as being a bit of a smaller receiver from Florida, but they're warranted. He is incredibly versatile and can be put in the backfield like a Percy Harvin or a Tyreek Hill. Line up in the slot, put him in motion, do whatever you need with him. He is a deep threat who can track balls incredibly well, can win in short open field scenarios, as he is one of the toughest open field tackles in the SEC, and that is saying a lot. He had 2,100 yards and 14 touchdowns in 4 years at Florida, but really shined this year with Kyle Trask. There could be 2 Florida pass catchers taken in the first round. We know Kyle Pitts is going to go early in the first round. Kadarius Toney, I expect to go round 1 as well. He could be Chicago. He could be Tennessee. I don't think Kansas City's going to take him because I think Kansas City's going to go more along the lines of somebody like Bateman or Marshall. You don't just want everybody to be Tyreek Hill-esque. He could go to the Saints. The Packers could really use somebody like him. I'm kind of holding out hope that he goes to Green Bay because Devontae Adams needs some guys to take attention off of him, and Kadarius Toney could be the perfect fit for the Green Bay Packers. But I do not think that Kadarius Toney will be falling out of the first round. My next pick is going to be a little bit controversial. Because I don't know if this guy's going to be taken day 2. There might be 12, 13 receivers taken in the first 2 days of the draft, and I don't know if Western Michigan's Dwayne Eskridge is going to be one of them. This guy right here, he just screams versatility on the next level. Western Michigan was considering having him play both ways because a lot of their corners were getting hurt, and Eskridge was the best player on the team. He is a home run threat. He is going to kill people in the slot. I think his success is very dependent on his draft spot and how creatively offensive coordinators, whoever gets him, is going to use him. I would love for this guy to end up in Kansas City. Dwayne Eskridge is somebody who absolutely has a second gear, a second level of speed. He had 2,300 yards and 15 touchdowns in 4 years with the Western Michigan Broncos. There are players that went to bigger schools that are more likely to be taken in rounds 2 or 3. I think he's going to be an early 4th round guy. My message to the teams at the top of those rounds, really to the teams, every team with a 3rd round pick, don't draft the helmet, draft the guy. You know, there's players like Nico Collins or Elijah Moore that are going to be there, but I think Eskridge, productivity-wise, is going to be able to far surpass what they'll give. Now, I also want to let people know that if he doesn't, I'll own it. I'll own that wholeheartedly. Cut that clip out. You know, Mitchell worst takes, not a problem at all. I'll own that. I'll own that. I'll wear it like a badge of honor. My number 7 receiver is somebody that I think there's growing steam that he could go round 1. I still don't expect him to be. I think he'll be more of a mid-round 2 guy, and that's Purdue's Rondale Moore. You know about this guy, incredibly electric in college, playmaker in every sense of the word. Once he catches the ball, good luck catching him. Another one, offensive coordinators, creativity, use him however you can. I've seen some people say that he should be a running back / receiver at the next level and get more than just a carry or 2 a game as well. He is that electric. He is 5'9", 180, but again, good luck getting your hands on him. 2,100 yards and 17 touchdowns in 3 years at Purdue. You see a lot of these guys with, I'm saying mid-second round. They could go to a place like Miami. They could go to the Giants, Eagles, Packers, Saints, Ravens, Raiders. I don't think the Panthers should be taking somebody in the second round at receiver, but they lost Curtis Samuel. Maybe. Titans, Jets, Buccaneers, Browns, Patriots, Chargers, Niners, football team, Lions and Tigers and Giants. Oh my, because once you get into day 2, good luck tracking to see where the Bills. I don't think the Bills should be taking receiver, but they could. Just give Josh Allen all the playmakers, and who cares about defense or helping Tre'Davious White out on the corner. My number 8 receiver, I think we'll go round 1. That's Terrace Marshall Jr. I think Terrace Marshall Jr. is going to end up a member of the New Orleans Saints. I think they're going to take him round 1. Again, my expectation for first-round receivers, Jamar Chase, Cincinnati, Devonta Smith, the Lions, Waddle, Eagles, Toney, I think maybe the Bears. The Bears could take him. I mean, they need a receiver across Allen Robinson. Marshall, Saints, and I think those are the only receivers that go round 1. I think Bateman falls into the second round. Terrace Marshall Jr. is a little bit lower on my list than he is on some others. I think he kind of coasted a bit in 2020. We talked about Bateman not having a particularly productive year, but Marshall, I thought it wasn't necessarily productivity, but just he takes plays off. You saw that he wasn't the best at separating when he was the main guy. He is a good pass catcher, and he is extremely productive. He's good at winning in quick routes, and he holds on to passes well, but he sometimes has lapses in concentration that cause him to drop balls. He has 1,500 yards and 23 touchdowns in 3 seasons. My wide receiver number 9 is Amon-Ra St. Brown out of USC. Another guy, 2019 was a lot better than 2020 for this Trojans wide receiver. Great hands, very fast. Another one that got a little bit lazy last year. He's not a particularly good blocker, but where you draft St. Brown, you draft him for yards after the catch. He had 2,300 yards and 17 touchdowns in 3 years. I expect Amon-Ra St. Brown to be the 12th receiver off the board, maybe a mid-third round pick. I could see him ending up in Carolina with that, trying to fill that Curtis Samuel role. I could also see him with the Raiders and really break out in an unexpected way for Derek Carr and company. My number 10 wide receiver, and I have this mislabeled because I suck as a human. That's Amari Rodgers out of Clemson. He's a very smart, versatile receiver, and he's a return specialist, so that'll give him some value on the next level. He can make difficult catches and definitely plays bigger than his 5'9" frame would show. He's not necessarily the fastest or the most athletically gifted, but again, He knows where to be at all times, and he does have speed to get there, and I can see him really being a problem for teams playing zone coverage, knows how to find open spots. 2,200 yards and 16 touchdowns in 4 years for Amari Rodgers, who I think will be wide receiver number 15 off the board, late third round, early fourth maybe. Where I think he'll end up, I could see him giving some more depth to the Chargers receiving room. Same with the Cleveland Browns. Maybe he can end up in Kansas City. I'd like to see him in Baltimore. I think he'd be a really effective weapon for Lamar Jackson. My number 11 wide receiver is a little bit lower on my board than some others, and that's Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. He was unstoppable last season. He's very quick and can get himself out of trouble in small spaces, but I think that pressing this man, he's 5'9", 185, and plays every bit of it. I think that he's going to get killed in press coverage, but don't take your eye off him. He can be a home run hitter. He had 2,500 yards and 16 touchdowns in 3 years, and I think he's going to be the 8th receiver off the board. Going to go maybe mid to late second. I wouldn't take him until late round 3 personally. I just don't see the upside for him as much as I do some of these other guys, but we'll see. Maybe Detroit would be a good spot for him in that mid-second round. I could also see him, Baltimore. There wouldn't be a lot of pressure on him at all to win routes in Tampa, and that could be a good landing spot for him towards the end of round 2. My number 12 guy. This is somebody that I don't know if he's going to – I think he'll get drafted. I think he'll go maybe late round 6. I have him as probably the 29th receiver off the board. But Jalen Darden out of North Texas is somebody I would really keep my eyes on. I think that he is going to be an absolute stud at the next level. He's going to be in the slot. He's 5'9", 175, incredibly productive, can be used in many creative ways, but he's an incredibly smart player who's always aware of where he is on the field and where he needs to. He always finds a way behind the defense. And he's a very good blocker, so you don't have to bring him off the field in running situations. He had 2,800 yards and 38 touchdowns in 4 seasons. This is somebody that I would really like to see on a team like the Colts. And he can be kind of the next version of that T.Y. Hilton that gave them so much throughout the 2010s. My number 13 wide receiver is Tylan Wallace from Oklahoma State. He has great hands, as you can see in this picture, can catch passes all over the field, and he can separate. He's very versatile. Good blocker, but you're not going to see him, at least in my opinion, I don't think you're going to see him winning a lot of deep routes in the pros, particularly against zone coverage with somebody over the top. He had 3,400 yards and 27 touchdowns in 4 seasons. He also, I want to say, tore his ACL in 2019. I know he missed a lot of time with a serious injury, so that's something that is going to drop his stock just a little bit. I think he's the 11th receiver off the board. I think he goes early to mid-third round. Could see him, again, Patriots, Saints, Washington would be a good spot for this guy. Maybe the New York Giants. I could really see him succeeding in New York with, you got Galladay, Shepard, Slayton. Slide Tylan Wallace right in there, and I think that he'd be able to make the most of his time on the field. I'd really like to see Tylan Wallace in a situation where he doesn't have to be counted on to be one of the guys right away and can slowly, surely start getting more time and being more productive. My number 14 wide receiver is Diamon Brown from North Carolina. I think he's very dependent on winning the deep ball. He's great at getting vertical, but I don't know that he's the speed to really separate from NFL corners. He wins routes at the line of scrimmage, though, very well. And I'd like to see him used more on slants or just quick outs type of things. I don't want him to get pigeonholed as just the guy that can win deep routes. He had 2,300 yards and 21 touchdowns in 3 seasons. And while Brown is probably going to be the 9th receiver off the board, at least the way I have it, being an early 3rd, late 2nd round pick, maybe somewhere like Tennessee or the New York Jets, I honestly don't know if he's going to be the best North Carolina receiver taken in this draft. Daz Newsome is somebody that I'm incredibly high on, and I don't think Newsome's going to get taken until the 6th round. So Newsome could be the steal of the draft, while Diamon Brown goes a little bit earlier than some expect. I really hope he has a better career than somebody he might get compared to a little bit. Maybe Newsome too, just because he comes up with North Carolina receivers, and that being Brandon Tate. Greg Little, another Tar Heel wide receiver bust, but Hakeem Nicks, big body, UNC, and you don't judge the hat, but I'm afraid that maybe some people will. And my number 15 receiver is somebody I think a lot of scouts are sleeping on, and that's Cornell Powell from Clemson. Now, if you want to tell me that I am being biased because he is from the same area I went to high school in Greenville, North Carolina, I would say you are the most funny person I've ever met, because if anything, that would be a strike against him, not a strike for him. But nonetheless, he made the most of his opportunities with the limited reps he had, and then this year his role expanded, and he really killed it with 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns in 5 years. He had 882, and 7 of those in 2020. Limited reps, but he has incredible hands. He's raw. He has the body to be able to make it work on the next level and dominate physically, and I want to really see him get coached up. I think that if he does get coached up, he can be a wide receiver 1 in this league. Not the greatest route runner. So again, get him to, coach him up. If he goes to a dysfunctional team, I think Cornell Powell could be out of the league in 2 years. If he goes to somebody that's actually willing to develop him, coach him up the right way, he's going to win so many contested routes at the next level, and you get him running better routes, Cornell Powell could be the steal of the draft. I think I'd really like to see him go round 6 to a team like Kansas City or Green Bay, or just somebody with an established quarterback that can work on timing routes with him, a receivers coach that can get him right. That's what I want. That's what I want for Cornell Powell. I think he could be the steal of the draft if he's just put in a position to succeed by his coaches. I scream it from the mountaintops. Fit matters. Where you go is huge. And some of these late round guys, you might get an opportunity to play earlier on a bad team, but if they're a bad team with bad coaches, yeah, you can play early and enjoy that playing time, and then, I'll let you know if I need car insurance in 3 years. You go to a team that has its head on straight, injuries happen to everybody. Late round picks are counted on all the time. Fit matters. Fit matters. All right, I'm going to be talking about the offensive line next time we do this. Offensive tackles, it's a good class. It's a deep class. A lot of good prospects on day 2, but it's really Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, Christian Darrisaw in the first round. Throw Tevin Jenkins in there as well, as he's been rising up draft boards lately. I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to have some sort of rant or something, a list maybe, Wednesday.